بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الأخوة والأخوات، الحضور الكريم، أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير. نلتقي معكم مجددا في جلسات اليوم الثاني من مؤتمر هيئة جودة التعليم والتدريب، مستقبل جودة التعليم والتدريب بين التوجهات العالمية والتنفيذ المحلي، والذي يقام تحت رعاية كريمة من سمو الشيخ محمد بن مبارك آل خليفة، نائب رئيس مجلس الوزراء رئيس المجلس الأعلى لتطوير التعليم والتدريب. نفتتح معكم اليوم الجلسة الثالثة للمؤتمر، والتي ستكون تحت عنوان مدى تأثير التغييرات العالمية على المؤهلات ومتطلبات سوق العمل، والتي ستمتد بإذن الله تعالى حتى الساعة 11 صباحاً. ويسرنا دعوة الأستاذة عصمت جعفر، مدير إدارة عمليات الإدارة الوطني للمؤهلات بهيئة جودة التعليم والتدريب لإدارة الجلسة والتعريف بالمتحدثين، فلتتفضل.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Our session today will be discussing the impact of global changes on qualifications and labor market needs. It's my pleasure to welcome you and our speakers to this session. Our speakers in this session are Ms. Eduardo Branco from European Training Foundation, Dr. Mohammed Al-Khairi from Education and Training Evaluation Commission, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Mr. Yasser Al-Abbasi from Gulf Petrochemical Industries Company, GPIC, Kingdom of Bahrain. If you have any questions to our speakers, please write them in the Q&A box and we will be happy to answer them at the end of the session. Our first speaker today is Ms. Eduardo Branco, who has extensive experience in international cooperation, qualification systems and frameworks, working with countries and stakeholders, and has been with the European Training Foundation for 18 years. I welcome Ms. Eduardo to present her topic on global changes and their impact on qualifications and labor market requirements. Ms. Eduardo, allow me please to share the screen. Ms. Eduardo, the screen is yours, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a privilege to be here at this virtual conference of BQA. The importance of such a debate on the impact of global changes on qualifications and labor market requirements cannot be overestimated. Thank you for your invitation to share some thoughts. The future of work has arrived ahead of schedule. At least 4 mega drivers of change are boosting the dynamics of this transformation. First, digitalization, automation, artificial intelligence, then COVID-19 crisis, but also the greening of economy and society, as well as societal movements, rights, democracy, information, and innovation. The combination of these forces has led to 2 years of digital innovation in 2 months. Remote work and hybrid forms of work became the normal in many occupations, although not in all. A wave of innovation and new generation of entrepreneurs is rising. It is also reskilling, learning anytime, anywhere, anything. And also a new genome of hybrid skills, new types of qualifications, micro-credentials, digital certificates. This multidimensional crisis also created a double disruption scenario for workers as a result of the tandem of the COVID-19 recession, exacerbated by the disruption caused by automation and digitalization. Short-term and long-term disruptions are intertwined. Let us start by the green, the hope. The green enabled recovery is here. Green is seen as a major lever and indispensable component for post-COVID recovery plans and investment, as we see in the large-scale stimulus packages of many countries in Asia, Europe, Americas, and Africa. To cope with the previous financial crisis of 2008, there were substantial government stimulus programs, but only few of them contained climate or environmental action. This time around, it is different. It's not only the large scale of resources of these recovery plans, but also the philosophy of recovery. It's not about replicating the old model, but to recover through ecology. For example, the European Union plans to dedicate around 30% of its 750 billion euros plan for recovery against the COVID-19 crisis to climate change related measures. France, for example, is dedicating a very large investment, part of its 2030 recovery plan, to develop skills required for greening of jobs and work. It is what they call the ecological transition. South Korea's Green New Deal as well is doing something similar by investing in greener infrastructure and technology. Canada as well is linking recovery to climate goals. Just as the digital economy companies have powered stock market returns in the past couple of decades, so green technology companies could play that role in the coming decades as well. Green growth opportunities abound across massive sectors such as energy, mobility, construction, and agriculture. Greening of tasks, jobs, and skills was already happening, but greening has now a new chance to move from the margin to take center stage and become a mainstream driver. Major implications of greening for jobs, education, training, skills. For example, the need to develop environmentally friendly technologies, production processes, products, services, and business models across all sectors of the economy. It changes the traditional even occupations, how they are performed and how they are taught. It creates even new tasks, processes, and occupation. Greening creates a demand for new skills and knowledge and the need to upskill and reskill large numbers of people. Digitalization, automation, and artificial intelligence is the other very powerful driver of change of work, jobs, and skills. The World Economic Forum report of 2020 estimates that emerging professions will see a steeper growth than before, accompanied by demand for new skills, transversal, hybrid, technical. Skills gaps continue to be high as in-demand skills across jobs change in the next 5 years. On average, companies estimate that 40 to 50% of workers will require reskilling. Then the dynamics of jobs displaced and jobs emerging is immense. The number of jobs destroyed will be surpassed by the number of jobs of tomorrow created. And the World Economic Forum estimates that by 2025, 85 million jobs may be displaced by the shift in division of labor between humans and machines. On the other side, 97 million new roles will emerge more adapted to the new division of labor, humans, machines, and artificial intelligence. And the graph shows you very well the jobs that will be on the decreasing side and those on the growing side. COVID-related disruptions. Yes, COVID-19 is our common history, being written literally by each one of us on a daily basis. So we all know, in reaction to the risk to life caused by the spread of the virus, government has taken and legislated full or partial closures of business operations. And this has caused a sharp shock to economies, societies, and employment. The shift to remote work was massive. What the pandemic is showing is that a new hybrid way of working is possible at greater scale than imagined in previous years. Hybrid models of remote work are likely to persist in the wake of the pandemic, mostly for highly educated and well-paid minority. It's also, of course, to be taken into account that there are concerns about productivity and well-being of remote workers that need to be tackled. The pandemic accelerated existing trends in remote work, e-commerce, and automation, with up to 25% more workers than previously estimated, potentially needing to switch occupations. And this is an immense challenge. Moreover, there is an emerging marketplace currently for remote work. Demand and supply are growing on the marketplace of remote work. LinkedIn data, for example, show that the amount of workers looking for remote job opportunities has nearly doubled in a year, while the number of job postings has also gradually increased. And then there is a growing demand in health and care sector jobs, the emergence of telemedicine, and the biopharma revolution taking hold. The mix of occupations is also changing as a result of the COVID-19, and trends accelerated by COVID-19 might spur greater changes in the mix of jobs within economies than estimated before the pandemic. And a markedly different mix of occupations will emerge, for example, in these 8 researched economies, according to studies of McKinsey and Company. So compared to pre-COVID-19 estimates, the largest negative impact of the pandemic falls on workers in food service, customer sales, service roles, but also on the less skilled office support roles. Whereas jobs in warehousing and transportation may increase as a result of the growth in e-commerce and the delivery economy, demand for workers in the healthcare and STEM occupations may grow more than before the pandemic. This means that a larger share of workers will need to transition to new occupations, requiring a different mix of skills. Technologies adoption by 2025. The past 2 years have seen a clear acceleration in the adoption of new technologies among companies and as well as in the public sector. Cloud computing, big data, e-commerce remain high priorities, and this follows a trend already established in the previous years. But now there is also a significant rise in, for example, significant interest in encryption, cybersecurity. Of course, this reflects the new vulnerabilities of our digital age, and this is especially important in the public sector. Labor market changes affect the content of qualifications. So the top 10 skills for 2025, according also to the research of the World Economic Forum, shows that critical thinking and problem solving will top the list of skills that employers believe will grow in prominence in the next 5 years. And these have been consistent also since 2016. But there are new emerging skills that are captured, identified from 2020, and skills such as self-management, for example, active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, flexibility. But you can also see on the graph creativity, originality, very high, ranking very high among the top skills for 2025. Qualifications in time of crisis. This question of qualifications in time of crisis can be considered from at least 3 angles. One angle concerns acquisition of new skills for the numerous transitions, and this, for example, by using a mix of instruments anchored on innovation. They are universal digital learning, micro-credentials, skills-based credentials, and hands-on learning. The second angle emphasizes that knowledge is not less important in qualifications in the future, but should be enriched with values, attitudes, and behavioral dispositions. And the third, wider maybe angle is simply going back to basics. The power of education extends beyond the development of skills for economic success. Education is empowerment to shape and change the world. Renewal of qualifications in time of crisis, data helps. The era of digital data and artificial intelligence-based analytics offers new and quasi-real-time labor market and skills intelligence. Novel data analytics can provide continuous flows of insights on changing demands and skills rates by occupations and sectors with great granularity and geo-reference. And this can be a major unseen advantage for renewal of qualifications, redesign of courses and learning. Novel types of skills observatories have emerged, analyzing terabytes of data and able to contribute to many questions. The principle is let the data speak. Data sources should be combined further on, traditional, conventional, and novel, innovative, to offer holistic, deep, and future-oriented insights useful for design of qualification standards and curricula. This complementarity means, for example, triangulation of data from graduate tracking, employers' demand studies, foresights. Universities and professional training institutions can use the immense possibilities of novel data analytics, dashboards, to capture and analyze the mismatch between their offer, between the learning outcomes and the content of their courses, and the demand, the skills really on demand in the labor market. So still data helps. Renewal of qualifications in times of crisis, with just two examples. CEDEFOP, the European Union's agency, has created a breakthrough in labor market intelligence data. It is the real-time data system based on terabytes of online job vacancies, literally millions. It is called Skills of 8, which stands for Online Vacancy Analysis Tool for Europe. And it is now renewing and boosting the data platform. At the same time, Eurostat will take further the part that concerns data collection and analysis of online job vacancies. And this will be like a complementary source, complementary to conventional statistics. Then the European Training Foundation, ETF, has also initiated such a project of big data for labor market intelligence based on the same.
Excuse me, Ms. Eduardo, just one more minute, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one of the messages of this experiment is that real-time labor market intelligence based on online job vacancies can be implemented in countries at different level or stage of economic development. And finally, the last final highlights in one slide, 2021, a year of translation. I'd like just to mention 4 main highlights. Learning, reskilling, and upskilling is a major and pressing priority for the period of the Building Back Better. It is an immense soft construction site. Half of us need to reskill in the next 5 years as the double disruption of the economic impact of the pandemic and the increasing automation will continue to transform jobs. Skills shortages are more acute in emerging occupations. Systems of education, training, qualifications, systems too must learn. Both businesses and policymakers should collaborate to support workers migrating between occupations. Support to a culture and practice of lifelong learning requires conditions and incentives, such as, for example, validation of learning, support to self-management of learning, introduction also of such instruments as the individual training accounts. And finally, stronger public support to training, to reskilling of at-risk or displaced workers, and youth, women, whose employment has been severely affected by the COVID-19 crisis, is very fundamental. Governments could also consider extending benefits and protections to independent workers and to workers working to build their skills and knowledge mid-career. And to conclude, transition and recovery is all about learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eduardo, for this enlightening slides and presentation. Indeed, we really need to reskill our workforce. We'll move now to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Mohammed Al-Khairi, who is Executive Director of the National Center for Training, Evaluation and Accreditation at the Education and Training Evaluation Commission, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Dr. Mohammed has over 15 years of experience in strategic planning and quality assurance. I welcome Dr. Mohammed to share his slides. Dr. Mohammed, if you allow me to give you.
Please.
Please. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Has presented a very optimistic and encouraging image for the future, which should we all adopt. However, in my presentation today, I'll be more focused on the current trends in the job market and how is that affecting our business in quality assurance and what is our role given these changes. It's a fact that robots are taking over some of the human basic jobs. In a report and a study published by Oxford Economics in 2019, they estimated that over 20 million manufacturing jobs around the world, which are low skill based, will be lost by 2030 to machines. Just in the following 11 years, the next 11 years, almost 14 million robots are put in work in China alone. Now, that will lead us to a practice of auditing the job market and understanding the balance between the human skill it requires and the skills that could be potentially be taken over by a machine, and reskill the job market tenant to adopt a lifetime learning mindset, as there is no job for life. Next screen, please. The job market and the industry itself is evolving, distinct from Industry 3.0, which involved the automation of single machines and processes. We are facing now a new era in which Industry 4.0 encompasses end-to-end digitization and data integration of the value chain. One of the largest studies on digitizations was published by PwC in 2016. They noted that over 2,000 companies, actually 2,000 companies from more than 26 countries noted that Industry 4.0 is no longer a future trend. It's actually a current trend of the job market. The majority of those companies, about 50% of them, said that they would invest from 2 to 10% of their revenue in digitization, which is a staggeringly high proportion of their R&D investments. At the same time, the same percentage of the companies identified that the absence of a digital culture and the right training as the top challenges than any other in their business. So although the industry is evolving, the training and the skilling is not yet coping with those changes. The same results are still obvious after 2 years when they reduplicated the skills themselves are changing, as Eduardo have mentioned, as the World Economic Forum has elaborated in the report. The demand for skilled labor will rise, as well as salaries, as the need of skilled labor jumps, especially. I'm having problems with the screen. Can we go 2 slides back, please? One more back, please. Thank you. Okay. Those skills are based on the new trends of the industry, in which workers will be more geared towards digital experience, data analytics, STEM-based skills. Those new ways of sourcing and access talent and training programs should be the main focus of the quality systems and the institutions adopting them. Okay. Ismet, can we go to, there's something going on with the slide. One more back, yes. When we go to the job market, yes, there is, yes, this one. We see that the labor market is changing, and due to the pandemic and what's going on in it, we see that a big amount of loss has been there, almost amounting to 4.4 of the global GDP has been lost due to the pandemic and what's going on in there. Along with the effects on the labor markets, the COVID pandemic has disrupted education and training at all levels, with complete closures of training institutions in the vast majority of the world. Specifically, when we talk about TVET programs, we see that they have been particularly hard hit, given their unique focus on work-based learning and acquisition of practical skills. Business closures, on the other hand, coupled with the loss in revenues, have caused cuts in the offer of apprenticeship placements and at-work training that is a core component of TVET education and training. Disruptions in assessment and certification and the decline in the quality of training have caused demotivation among learners and teachers at the same rate, and that increased the risk of students and trainees to drop out from the system. In order to cope with such a thing, we need to accelerate the changes that we were thinking about. The future is already here, as Eduardo said, and that's a major component of what we should be thinking of for the future. Next slide, please. The training itself should evolve, and we should accelerate that evolvement. We need to have a clear understanding of what should we focus on in our teaching and learning. Competency-based training should be the norm, and it is the norm now. Non-linear career paths, as we all know, a normal in the evolving economies, a normal employee would have went through 11 different jobs during their adulthood working time. That would require the development of flexible qualification frameworks, which are modular based, which offer unit or modular certification, which can be delivered on a part-time basis to the learners. Macro credentials is here to stay. They are not something that is only a hype or a trend that's gonna go with time. No, it's here to remain, because they are linked very strongly with the tendency towards having non-linear career paths that require skilling and upskilling at a macro level and not only at a qualification level. The industry evolutions and the digitalization of learning platforms are not well used in the TVET sector, basically because the current mindset focuses on hands-on training and hands-on practice. However, we know that the industry is evolving in the online learning platforms that are geared to TVET sector, and that should be the trend for the future. Next slide, please. How does that affect our work as quality assurance agencies? With such changes, with such trends, with such fast-paced movement towards new frontiers that are not common, we should rely more on what have been coined as quality 4.0. Such a system of quality assurance is risk-based, is data-driven, is AI-enabled, and analytics is the heart of such a system. Analytics can be used to alert organizations of potential compliance breaches or act to prevent those breaches to start with. Integration of different data models and technologies like blockchain can provide assistance to macro-credential assessment, and certification can assist in capturing the different skill-based skill needed, as Eduardo shown in the two models presented, can actually forecast the skills that we need to focus on to fill the gap in the job market based on terabytes of data. Today's technology plays an important role in compliance management, reducing compliance burden and risk, which will continue to expand as the time evolves. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about quality 4.0, and I'll spend some time here, we see that at the core of such concept is the concept of alignment within the different systems, alignment with different stakeholders, alignment between different aspects and players within the quality assurance ecosystem. We, due to the time limits, I'll focus only on 5 of the 11 pillars of such alignment. When we talk about data and quality assurance in the post-COVID-19, and actually in what has been the future of quality assurance, we see that in the quality sphere, data has always been a vital driver for improvement. Without data, we cannot make judgments. Without data, we cannot predict the importance of changes that need to be implemented. However, for most organizations, there is still a big gap and a lag in the process of data collection, in the process of data analysis, and how to use this data as a metric for decision making. And technological advances in the industry now, such as advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and what have you, can help organizations to achieve real-time visibility of vital quality metrics, such as internal engineering and manufacturing performance, supplier performance, customer service, feedback, and even, as the example had been presented, forecasting the actual skill sets needed by the job market at any given time or at any given place. Analytics.
Excuse me, Dr. Muhammad, 2 more minutes, please. Thank you. Analytics,
on the other hand, can use the data in a new new sense. Current quality metrics, as we all know, are primarily descriptive at its core. They provide information on what happened and use predictive models to say what is likely to happen as a result. With the introduction of 4.0 technologies like big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, we can add a fourth category to the current descriptive, diagnostic, and predictive framework, which is perspective. And in that, machine learning and artificial intelligence insights can allow prescriptive analytics to predict failure and inform what action should be taken to change the outcomes to help manifest a better quality system. The connectivity and collaboration, which are the last two things that I will talk about, will enable enterprises to manage their quality systems in a much better way, leveraging the connectivity that can allow for the collection of real-time or near real-time feedback and from multiple players within the organization and collaborate on that in a more, make more sense. Finally, when we talk about compliance within this framework, we know that we can notice that Quality 4.0 provides a variety of tools or techniques that can be implemented to automate compliance activities using automated platforms to collect data, using social collaboration, using successful compliance systems. All of these approaches can work across different divisions and work sites and different organizations. Meaningful data analytics can also alert organizations about potential compliance breaches, and that will lead us to have more reliable risk-based assessment instead of having a generic quality assurance that might not fit all users. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. Indeed, we agree that training is evolving and it needs to be competency-based, and as well as the quality assurance standards need to also change and evolve to accommodate for the global changes. Our next speaker is Mr. Yasser Al-Abbasi, who is General Manager Manufacturing in the Gulf Petrochemical Industries, GPIC, Kingdom of Bahrain. He is also a member of the NTF Advisory Committee, and Mr. Yasser is a member of a number of professional and societies related to health and safety, both locally and internationally. I would like to welcome Mr. Yasser and to share his presentation.
Thank you very much, Asmat, for the introduction. If I may have access to my presentation. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. I hope everybody is safe and healthy. I am delighted to, Asmat, can I have my presentation, please?
Yes, please. You may share it. You may go ahead.
Okay. I cannot see it.
Okay.
I am honored to participate with you today in this fourth BQA conference, and I will be sharing some of my views on the impact of global changes on qualification. But before that, I would like to really thank BQA's Chief Executive, Dr. Jawar Al-Dhahki, for inviting me to speak in this conference. Okay, sorry. Jumps. Better. I was asked as a representative of the private sector and as an employer, I was asked to answer these 4 questions in this session. And I think they are extremely valid and pertinent questions. And in my answers, I would like to in advance, apologize for the audience because I'm going to repeat some of the information that Eduardo and Dr. Mohammed already shared with us in the previous 2 presentations. So I apologize for that, but I'm going to present them from a more practical practitioner point of view rather than an educator. Sorry, again, jumps. There we go. Of course, every presentation since yesterday started with the impact of COVID-19, and I will not be any different because for the last 12 to 14 months with the pandemic, our life changed. Everything in a heartbeat has not been the same anymore. We cannot travel, we cannot have holidays. Our interaction, social interaction with families, friends, and workers in the workplace has been extremely minimal. And most significantly, as Eduardo said earlier, that our workplace and our work environment has changed dramatically, with most of us at the workplace are now working remotely or working from home. So what does this mean in the bigger context of how the future labor market will look like? And will it have a lasting impact, or is this a transitional period that we will go through it and we will go back to normal? I don't think so, and things will definitely change in the future. According to a number of reports issued by the Asian Development Bank, the ILO, and the World Economic Forum, they are indicating that there is a heightened preoccupation with the forecasting, with the visioning of the future world market, depending on the changes that are taking place today. And definitely Eduardo alluded to this in her presentation. Everyone is concerned how the future labor market will look and how will qualification will be adapted to those requirements. The way I see it as an employer, I think it's all about disruptive technologies and how disruptive technologies impact economies, societies, and education systems. We all know that in a disruptive technology, an innovation that significantly changes the way that our customers, businesses, and ways are done. And hence, when a disruptive technology takes place, our business, our work environment also changes with it. What happens when there is a disruptive technology? Everything that we have learned before, all the system that we have in place before is swept away with a new system that are perceived to be more powerful, easier, faster, better. So they are more, these new systems, these new technology, once they come to the workplace, they are more attractive to employers, to businesses, because they are, at the end of the day, will cost the business less and will make the business more efficient. Let me give you some examples on both. Again, Eduardo and Dr. Muhammad alluded to this. We in the business world now see that a lot of businesses now are shifting towards Industry 4.0. They are using digitization more. They are using sensors more, robotics more, drones more, and they are handling more data. So Industry 4.0 is no longer a concept, but actually coming into the workplace and coming extremely fast. Artificial intelligence was feared by businesses at one stage because they thought they will be displacing workers. But now, because of the benefits that they bring into workplace, they are becoming widely used. Also, things like Internet of Things. They used to be big conceptual ideas that were away from the business world, but today they are becoming mainstream. This is not only true for Internet of Things, but also for blockchain and cryptocurrencies. We are starting to see businesses working on those virtual currencies and coins, Bitcoin, and so on and so forth. So they are becoming reality. Also, the speed to which we are connected to the internet with the G5 is tremendous. We are shifting very quickly to G6, and that will bring even faster connectivity and faster ability to do business across the world. With that, there are other things that are coming into the fore, and they are becoming really big concerns, not only to businesses, but also to government. And they are mainly related to cybersecurity. All these technological changes are impacting the workplace. As I said, initially, a lot of businesses fear the use of AI or robotics. But now they are becoming more and more attractive for businesses. So they are incorporated in the business world very effectively. So we had the pandemic as one change impacting the labor market. We have the technology as the other change impacting the labor market. And there is also a third change, which has to do with the laws, the labor laws themselves around the world, and the appetite of employers towards employment. Let me give you some examples. We see now more employers are more interested in the skills from their employee rather than the qualification that the employees have. They are interested in what can perform the job, not on the credential that the person has for doing the job. Now we see more and more employers that are very comfortable and very able to recruit talents and skills from people from around the world without those people having to leave their offices or homes or present any credential. Employers are becoming very relaxed and accommodating to this concept of employment. That did not exist 5 years ago. A third thing that is happening also, there is a change in the labor laws. Let us look at Bahrain, for example. Our new labor law with the ministerial order now is allowing, for example, for women to work at every job except when they are pregnant. This is a total change on the way we are approaching the labor market. The Scandinavian countries are looking at 24 hours work week. So that also changes. So there are structural, systemic changes that are taking place in the world, in the labor market, which will impact how the shape of the labor market will be in the future, and hence the qualification that we have to offer. Sorry. I'm sorry, but this jumps very quickly. I apologize for this, but technology is not serving me.
I can control the slide for you, Mr. Yunus.
Not the slide. Okay, if you can go to next slide, please. Yeah, this one. Next one. The one previous to this. All right, this one. So how the labor market, we can see that from the discussion that I had, we can see the following is happening. Job with repetitive nature, with low skill sets, routinely done. Those jobs we can see in the labor market, in the businesses being displaced or replaced with machines, with robotics, with things that can be automated very easily and digitized. So those jobs will vanish from the labor market. But we can see also that other specialization that can be flexible enough to accommodate technologies very quickly will serve very well in the future labor market. We also can refer to some of the reports issued by the World Economic Forum, and again, Eduardo alluded to that. We noticed that 75 million jobs worldwide will vanish in the future, will be displaced by things that the machines and the robotics will be doing in their workplace. Those will be gone. But the good news is about 133 million new jobs will emerge as a result of all this automation and digitization that will merge into the business world. These will require a totally different set of skills. So individuals in the future who have the required skills and can better adapt to the digital world that they will be living in will be in favor for employment compared to those which don't have the skills required. And as a result of that, the economies and societies will need to create an environment for all those jobs for the future generation to take them and to be trained for them and to address those jobs.
Riyasa,
The World
two more minutes, please. Yeah.
Inshallah. The World Economic Forum suggests that 65% of the children going to school today will be doing jobs in 12, 13 years now, from now that don't exist in today's world. They will be totally new jobs. So where do we go from now? We understand from the ILO that with the greening of the economies, with going to our sustainable solution, with reducing our carbon footprint, a lot of the jobs will disappear from the market, and a lot of new jobs will come out into the system. We understand that from the World Bank that 80% of the jobs worldwide in the future needs to be reshaped and need to be retailored for the new requirements. Employers in the future will need to have trainees that are trainable, not that are trained. And there is a big difference between the two things. The International Journal of Training and Research suggests that there are three sets, and again, they were alluded to before in the other presentation, the three basic skills that we need to have for the future job. One is advanced cognitive skills, such as complex problem solving. Two, social and behavioral skills like teamwork. And three, skills combination that are predictive and adaptable, such as reasoning, accommodating, self-efficiency, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Yasser. I'm afraid we need to stop here to take some questions. Can we?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we just go to the next slide? Yeah. You're fine.
Last slide.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to end up with. What I wanted to say at the end, that we, in our generation, we had it easy. We knew how to go to school, get a degree, get a job, and our path is set. It is no longer the same for our children. Our children have a much tougher choices to make. And for us to enable them to unleash their talent, their creativity, their potential, their mindset, we have to ensure that our education system enables that and prepare them for that future, which is unknown. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yasser. Thank you for sharing with us your views as an employer. And sorry to have stopped you at this stage because we are running out of time and we need to take a couple of questions. Thank you very much for our speakers. The first questions that we have is for Eduardo. Ms. Eduardo, we have a question that says, you mentioned about preparing the institutions for the transition and change in technology and jobs. So what should be the priorities for the institution? What they should focus on? And please, if you keep your answers as short as possible so we can take some more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for the presentations and also for this question. May I ask, Ismat, you mean particularly education and training institutions or in general?
Yes, it's for education and training institutions. What should be their priority for the transition?
Yeah, well, there are paradigms that need to be changed. So learner-centered approaches to teaching and learning are to be brought forward. The use of data, the use also the engagement with blended learning. So different types, different modalities of curriculum and teaching and technologies. So this idea of hybrid and blended becomes fundamental in the future. So qualifications are not only about the technological aspects, but also about social, about the various skills that are fundamental for being able to learn throughout life. So learning to learn. And institutions, of course, have sometimes difficulties to move forward into these new paradigms. I guess that one important thing is that peer learning also among institutions should be supported. And I guess this kind of conferences is also fundamental. So peer learning, sharing of good practice is fundamental. This is how institutions at the micro level will see other role models, will see how other institutions such as theirs have adapted to change.
Thank you, Ms. Eduardo. My next question is for Dr. Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, you mentioned about the micro-credentials and how they will benefit the training sector. Can you please elaborate on how could this serve the training sector, and what are the quality assurance mechanisms? How do we ensure assure the quality of these micro-credentials?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and actually my answer will tackle that and the question also micro-credentials are here to stay, and we have to have a good use of technology that is behind the Industry 4.0. First of all, to make sure that those credentials are useful in placing the trainers into the job market, we have to have a strong public-private partnership in order to identify the skills needed, the different skill sets needed. And above all, we have to have a framework that accommodate those micro-credentials and bridge the movement from the current traditional frameworks of qualification-based into a framework that can use micro-credentials as a skill-based framework for credentials. How we can make sure of the credentials and digital badges, technology is here to help. We have huge success now in the world with technology in making sure that the different ledgers and the different financial systems are trustworthy. We can use the same technology, provided that we have a framework that governs such credentials in their forming and in their delivery.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. My next question is for Mr. Yasser. Mr. Yasser, how can the labor market help effectively in reshaping the set of skills needed currently by the market?
If you can repeat the question again, I could not hear it.
There is a question which says, how can the labor market help effectively or efficiently in reshaping the skills needed currently in the labor market? How can the employers,
I understand. Thank you very much.
For the industry.
Thank you, Asmat, for the question. As I said, the labor market will drive the skills and competencies needed for the education system to offer them. The education system will lag behind the labor market in terms of skills. So the labor market will be the driver, and the education system has to provide the required graduate, the required skills, the required competencies accordingly. It cannot work the other way around. So the labor market, the businesses will drive that movement, and that's how they will shape the education system and the qualification system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just for the sake of time, I think we need to end this session. And thank you very much. I would like to thank our speakers and the audience for participating for us in this useful session. And I hope you all enjoyed it and benefited from the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. نتقدم الآن بخالص الشكر والتقدير للمتحدثين الذين أثروا الجلسة بما عرضوه من رؤى وأفكار وتوصيات.
Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نتقدم بخالص الشكر والتقدير للمتحدثين الذين أثروا الجلسة بما عرضوه من رؤى وأفكار وتوصيات. ضيوفنا الكرام، نود تذكيركم بغرف المحادثة الموزعة بحسب إدارات الهيئة للمدارس الحكومية والخاصة والامتحانات الوطنية ومؤسسات التدريب المهني ومؤسسات التعليم العالي والإطار الوطني للمؤهلات. هذه الغرف ستكون مفتوحة قبل وبعد الجلسات. نتمنى بإذن الله تعالى استمرار مشاركاتكم الفاعلة بما يثري الخبرات ويحقق أهداف هذا المؤتمر. والآن ندعوكم إلى استراحة قصيرة مدتها 15 دقيقة، نعود بعدها بإذن الله تعالى لانعقاد الجلسة الرابعة في تمام الساعة 11:15 بإذن الله تعالى. دمتم بخير. شكرا.